I was asked this one time at a dinner party, and I thought this was a fabulous question. And it made me realize that I don't think I've ever asked you this. And Tori, I want to get yours too. What are and what is a purchase that you made that you've never regret? And if you were to go back, you would do it all over again.
You've asked me this before.
I don't know if I know your answer.
I don't regret any purchases.
You don't know. You have to have something that you bought where you're like, this was the best purchase I ever made. You have to have something.
Like it's no.
How do you not have something?
I guess my house. Let's go with the house.
Okay, so you mean to tell me that you value buying a can of soda in the same way that is an equal purchase as your house?
No, I don't. But I don't.
What is the best purchase?
I don't rank all my purchases either. Like I don't know what my best purchase. Like
what was your worst purchase?
My worst purchase. I've got nothing. I'm sorry, I'm not playing the game right.
You have to have something, Tori.
He's a politician. I feel like he just.
Yeah, I agree.
No. I don't think about my purchases as like good or bad, right or wrong, or whatever.
You never regret purchases?
No, because I've survived every money decision I've ever made, and some of them might have been bad, but I'm okay, so I don't think about it that way.
But you don't ever think I should have gotten this instead?
Okay, so like an alternative to something.
Yeah, like there has to have been something better at some point.
I can't think. I don't have regret in my purchases.
Wow.
I'm so sorry.
Tori, you have to have something.
My favorite purchase is a plane ticket.
A specific plane ticket?
Yeah, to where?
All of them, but specifically the one to Europe that I didn't have a returning flight.
Ooh.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. That's really good.
That's the one I would do again and again.
So your one-way ticket.
My one-way ticket. I did buy eventually a flight back.
You are here today.
Yeah. Obviously.
So are you going to do it again?
Well, not that I have plans to, but it just worked out in my life.
Loaded question.
At that time. And I don't know if I would necessarily do it again, but like I would go back and do it again and again and again.
Okay. So you would recommend someone to do that as well?
I'll do it again at some point in my life, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about a regret?
Regret is hard. I would say honestly just like clothes that I've bought in college.
Yeah.
That scary time. Like fast fashion was really big in college. And I spent a lot of money on some sketchy websites.
Okay.
Did you receive all the products from the sketchy websites?
Yeah, just like they were bad quality and I wore them maybe one time or not even once.
Yeah.
And that's like a regret because that's a lot of, it added up to be a lot of money. But,
okay. I could see something like, you could also say that was not particularly good for the environment. And you might say, I shouldn't have done that because of like
cooking
impact.
Oil.
I can get behind purchases that hurt somebody else or something and then were unnecessary or something. Mm-hmm. This is maybe something that I've adjusted to, and I want to hear your answer. But this is something that I've maybe adjusted to because we've, in raising a daughter, had so many times where we have spent money on something and felt like she didn't get value out of it. Like we buy something because she says she likes it and then she never wears it, for example. Yeah. Or we build a clubhouse in the backyard and like then we somehow determine how much time needs to be spent in it to be like a worthwhile investment. It doesn't make any sense. So I think learned to not think about things that way because otherwise you could be second guessing every purchase or justifying this purchase or whatever. So that might be what's informing me.
I think that's a very good point. Personally, for me, like I've usually regretted purchases that are luxury goods. I found. And it's not that I regret them as if they've broken me in any way, shape, or form. Do you watch Selling Sunset? Mm-hmm. Okay. Have you seen the new season?
Not the whole thing, but I'm watching it.
Okay. Have you seen the part where Mary's house gets broken into?
Yes.
Okay. So in LA during the wildfires, there was like 1 million break-ins apparently. And
of course. Yeah.
There's this one realtor that's on the show that's in the hills, Beverly Hills, and her house, someone hopped over her gate, broke into her house and stole all their jewelry, watches, like all that kind of other stuff. And I think for me, like, when I got the Series 7, like I treated myself and I got a nice watch. It wasn't a Rolex or anything like that, but it's one of those things where whenever I've bought something, I've like worn it for a few months and then like it loses its luster. You know, like for me, there's no value on goods. But to your point, I think the things that I've never regretted purchasing, like I think to me, my best purchase was our like trip to Hawaii where we got married.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Great.
But like I even look at, you know, my car or a watch or a luxury good or even Kaylee with some jewelry stuff. It's like you buy it and then it's really cool. Then after a few months, it just becomes a watch. To me, the fun is actually in the shopping.
See, that's interesting. I don't have much of a watch collection. I have 2 watches, and they both have some sort of sentimental value to me.
Yeah.
And they're both related to you, honestly. But whenever I look at the watch I'm wearing right now, I say, well, Colin got me this watch.
Yes.
Right?
Well, you got me that watch.
Oh, right. Sorry. I got this watch.
And
I got
love
us
that
matching
watch.
watches.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry. Now, oh God, I'm doing the thing where like at home, I don't know which memories are mine and which memories are Jessica's. And now
We're starting to blend
now
together.
my work relationship, it's also happening. But I do think that most of the time when I look at something, I have some sort of attached meaning to it. Maybe I just don't shop that much, and that might be part of it. We're also trying to get rid of stuff. Like I'm going through everything and saying, if I don't need this, I'm getting rid of it. But I also don't look at it and say, well, I never wore it. I wore it for that stage or that season, and now it's done.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I bring it up was because I was reading this thing, and it was talking about, can money buy happiness? Mm-hmm. And this is actually a conversation we haven't had on the podcast, I don't think. But
No, that's going to be a whole separate
It would
topic.
be a whole separate topic.
Yeah.
But spoiler alert, money
No.
money can buy happiness in some instances. But it was reading about this, and it was a very interesting article, and Morgan Housel actually commented on it. But it was talking about how when you buy goods, that is a very short, I'll say, like hit of dopamine.
Yeah.
And it goes away really quickly. But when people use money to buy convenience and experience, that tends to lead to, I'll say, a more lasting satisfaction. So as an example, like if you make more money, or if you have more money to go and take your family on a trip, or go like have more flexibility to go out to dinner more and spend more time together, things like that. So those are the types of things that I've never regretted spending money on. But to the article's point, except for Nordstrom Rack. I am obsessed with Nordstrom Rack now. We went the other day and we got so much stuff, and it wasn't even that expensive, and it was great. But whenever I've made a purchase, it's not that I regret it, but it just becomes fleeting.
I think that money, I hate the term buy happiness. Like obviously,
Well, if you're an
happiness
unhappy
isn't for
person,
sale.
more money isn't going to make you happy.
Well,
you know,
yeah,
and that's the thing.
I think it can buy enjoyment, and experiences can give you joy, things can give you joy, or what you do with these things can give you joy. I think what's interesting about the way I look at regret and money, I suppose that, if you were to really hold up every item I've ever bought and say, do you regret this? You have like a light shining in my face. Like at some point I was like, yes, I'm so sorry. I should not have bought that.
should not have bought that.
Yeah, but you know what I never regret is gifting. And
This is a great pivot.
This is our topic
Your
today.
king pivot.
So gifting, Colin.
Yes.
We're coming up into that season of thinking about gifting. This is like,
Did you think about this ahead of time?
I
this
did not.
pivot? Okay.
Colin's blown away.
I'm blown away.
Welcome to the Compound Growth Podcast with Colin and Wheeler, where we talk all things growth, from financial growth to career growth, personal development to societal progress. We explore how each layer builds on the next, compounding over time to shape who we become. Each week, we break down complex ideas and emerging trends into clear, actionable insights. Because growth isn't just about numbers, it's about understanding the world and our place in it. The information in this material is for general information only, and is not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. Investment advice offered through Integrated Partners, doing business as Ko-Fi Advisors LLC, a registered investment advisor. Integrated Partners does not provide legal, tax, mortgage, advice, or services. Please consult your legal tax advisor regarding your specific situation. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All investing involves risk, including loss of principal. No strategy assures success or protects against loss. The economic forecast set forth in this material may not develop as predicted, and there can be no guarantee that the strategies promoted will be successful. This is that season where we all start to think about like gifting, right? And I have it kind of in my mind as like Thanksgiving into Christmas and the holidays, etc. is like when you start to think about like how there's the haves and the have-nots and how you can do your part. And it's funny that it's like just this time of year that we do that. It's like it doesn't matter in April.
Yeah.
Or am I gifting all my money to the IRS? Is that the issue? Tori, when's Gifting Tuesday?
It's Tuesday, December 2nd.
All right, so right after Thanksgiving.
Right after Thanksgiving.
Right, yeah.
So now we're in that phase.
Yeah.
And Thanksgiving, I think, is about all those times that you're like thankful and you have all these things to be thankful for. And maybe while you're thinking about all the things you're thankful for, you're realizing that there are other people that don't have those things.
Right, which is a perfect pivot because I think there's been a lot of discussions with clients about gifting, using things like a donor advised fund or gifting outright to charities or using retirement accounts to gift. I saw something that was very interesting yesterday. There was a gentleman, and this was a financial planning thing on YouTube, a gentleman who had $1 million of Bitcoin. That was an $800,000 appreciated position.
Wow.
So huge embedded gain, and he didn't want to sell it and pay the tax. So what they did is they took that Bitcoin position, moved it into a CRUT.
Yep.
Sold it in the CRUT, and then he had lifetime income.
Yeah.
Afterwards.
So let's not
But
get out of
let's not get into that because that's going to be later.
Yeah,
but
we've got to get into all these different
some interesting
terms.
things. Yes.
But I think conceptually, what we're trying to do with gifting is aligning your money, your investments, your plan with your values, right? And not everybody has, actually there's no like, here are the values, right? It's, when you're teaching kids how to think about money and how to allocate money, there's often like rules of, well, you can keep 50% and you can save 20%. And then, there's taxes. You can pay your parents back 10% or whatever. And then that other 15% goes to charity or whatever it might be. I don't know if that math, but the concept of gifting can be very intentionally, ingrained in your children as you're teaching them about money. But as we grow up and we become adults, like there's opportunities where you can or cannot gift. You can gift to family members, you can gift to friends, you can gift to charity. How do you think about gifting?
Well, I think about gifting, I guess, in several different ways, which is straight up, some people are more inclined to gift than others. Yeah. So, it's not for everybody. But the way that I think about gifting is two-pronged. It's either, and when we do financial planning, we usually use this kind of analogy, which is, when you pass away, your money can go to one of three places. It can go to your beneficiaries, it can go to charities, or it can go to the IRS. And we're here to help you choose between the first two. So when it comes to gifting, what we like to do with financial planning is figure out what the client's actual priorities are. And I know that most of our clients would like to limit their exposure to the IRS. And the conversations that I have with the majority of our clients is if you're going to pass away with a lot of money, it's nice to be able to see that money put to use while you're still here. Yeah. Saving it all for the end is great, and that's very admirable if you're going to pass away with money. But if you can benefit by seeing some of the gifting early on, that to me, I think is gold, especially when it comes to kids, grandkids, organizations that you care about. If you can do that while you're still alive, you can see the benefits of it. That's fantastic. And truth be told, most people, when they pass away, they're going to leave money to their kids. Their kids are probably going to be in their 50s and 60s at that point. Yeah. Which is the exact point in time where they probably don't need the money. Yeah. So. Yeah,
I mean, that's something that I think we've thought about more over the last 5 years than the 5 years before that is realizing, and I don't know why it took so long for everybody to kind of get on this page, but, as we have this massive wealth transfer that we've talked about in previous episodes. Right. And you're starting to see that play out. People are realizing that the people who are inheriting this wealth are older. than
They
you might
are.
think, and they are not starting to figure out how to pay for college or to figure out how to pay for that first house or to help pay their daycare bills. They're through most of
Right.
that, and maybe their kids are finally paying or going to college.
Yeah. In those conversations, I mean, it doesn't have to be that you're giving a ton of money right away or anything like that. But, we have clients that help their kids out with daycare for their grandkids.
Right.
Just small things like that make a big difference over time, or even taking them out to dinner or vacations and things like that. And those are small things that you can do that, one, will lower your estate later on in life, and two, you'll get the benefit of because you're still alive.
So why don't we think about like the different areas that where gifting can go to, right? So you just mentioned, we're not going to call taxes gifting to the government, but let's say that there's two areas, and there's your family and friends, or like your community that's like a part of your household or a part of your bubble.
Yep.
And then there's the community at large, the world, the organizations, etc. Why don't we start with the gifting to family?
Yes.
Right. So there's an annual amount that you can gift to family every year, right?
Yes.
What is that amount?
19,000.
19,000 as of 2026, I think. 18,000 maybe this year. And
Yeah.
then per person, and then that doubles for a couple.
Correct. Yes, you can give $38,000 per child, basically. So if you think about it, you and your spouse can each give $19,000 next year per person. So basically, when it kicks off in 2026, you guys could write a joint check to each of your family members, but not just your family members. It doesn't have to be a family member. It can be anyone. Now, with that being said, 99% of the time, it is a family member or a grandchild or something like that you give $19,000 to, or $38,000 as a combined couple. That's like a life-changing amount of money for most people. Now, most people also can't afford to do that, but that's the maximum amount. If you gift more than that, you're going to be subject to a 40% gift tax unless you pull it out of your lifetime exclusion amount.
Yeah. So the lifetime exclusion amount is, I think, astronomical for most people.
It is. It's 30 million at this point. Like most people aren't going to go over a $30 million net worth.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's, and again, we tend to focus on like the large numbers as couples, et cetera, obviously. But it's less than that as an individual. And there are state rules, right? So for our clients in Massachusetts, for example, there are other estate limits. I think it's $1 million per person in Massachusetts.
Right, because you have a state estate tax. I know certainly California is a really rough one.
Yeah.
You have Maine, Mass. A lot of those states, New York's another tough one too.
Yeah.
Where basically it's not that you have more than $30 million. They're their own brackets that you're going to get taxed on by the state when you pass away, which is important to focus on.
Actually, I think, and Tori, maybe you can confirm this, I think that California does not have a gift estate tax.
Oh, sorry. I was talking about a state estate tax.
An estate.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So maybe Tori can confirm that.
Okay. I know a really bad one.
Yeah. Which
Maryland.
Maryland is really bad. Hawaii is really bad.
Hawaii is really bad too.
Yeah.
California does not have state level gift tax, estate tax, or inheritance tax.
Yeah.
Hey, there we go.
Isn't that crazy? I wonder why they're struggling.
I know.
It's shocking, right? Because their income taxes are so high. You would expect them to have, but they don't for some reason, which is, I guess, good to know for advanced planning.
Yeah.
But if you're thinking about that, let's $18,000 or $19,000 limit, depending on the year, and where you can put that is really important, right? So one of those options might be to help your child or grandchild save for college through like a 529.
Yep.
And in some cases, you might want to consider super funding a 529, which I think is really interesting, because right now you can get $90,000
into a 529 up front.
Yeah, 5 years. You're basically pulling forward that gift, and you can't do $90,000 and then $18,000 next year, right? You're pulling forward 5 years into one gift, and that's per person.
Yep.
Right. So you could. I think arguably the cost of college is probably still going to go up, but if you give $90,000 to a 1-year-old, they're probably going to be okay.
They're probably going to make it, and you're probably going to have money left over.
Right.
So when you're talking about leaving a legacy, and if one of your goals is to pay for college for the future, you could easily front load a 529.
Yeah.
Pretty quickly.
Yeah. If you have that type of asset available to you. the other way that you can help kids pay for school is to just pay the tuition directly, right?
That's not a gift,
It's
right?
not a gift.
Not a lot of people know that, but a lot of people think that they need a 529 to pay for college, and that's the only way to avoid the gifting.
Yeah.
If you are a grandparent and if you have a grandchild that's going to college or even a child that's going to college, worst thing you can do is write that child a check to pay for their college. Do not do that. Just give the check directly to the college because that is not considered a gift. Same thing with books, laptops, all that stuff. If you just buy it, that is not considered a gift.
Yeah. Actually, I think it might be worth verifying the books because there's like an actual physical product there. I think that's different than, it depends, I guess, on how the school would bill it.
Yeah, it depends if it's lumped in or not.
Yeah.
And housing too.
Yeah. Housing's definitely part of that. Another sneaky one is medical bills. Right, because medical bills, you just like a college education cost, like a tuition cost, it's a bill, right? So you're not actually handing somebody a gift. There's no physical manifestation of that gift, right? So medical bills are another way that you can help people while not tapping into that exclusion every year.
Yeah, that's true. And I guess on the book front, if you were to buy the books and then give them to the child, that would actually be a gift.
Yeah, it would
now that I think
be
through that.
Now, look, who's going to track
No
that?
one's going to track that. Yeah.
Do we even have an IRS anymore?
I don't know.
But no, I think it's, there are ways that you can sit here and you can say, well, I only have $18,000 and I'm going to spread it out or whatever. But there are ways to get around that creatively and intentionally, depending on your situation.
Right.
But all of that is going back to your earlier point of helping people and while you're here and enjoying the that benefit of helping somebody. It's like to go through. I don't want to say it's like in your self-interest to gift so you can feel good about yourself, but it is nice to give a gift and see somebody benefit from that gift.
Well, you can't take it with you,
right?
So also, if you've accomplished the majority of your goals and your retirement's taken care of, why do you need more at that point? You should, if it's in your best interest and if it's a part of your goals to, help family and do all those things, doing that while you're alive is nice.
I have a kind of a fun aside.
Okay.
So we're talking about things that we would recommend people consider for
right.
gifting. Here's something not to do.
Okay, this should be good.
We have some clients that came in. They started working with us a little over a year ago, and they had a family member, a mother, who they had health concerns, right? And fast forward a year, and she's been diagnosed with terminal cancer.
Okay,
and it's probably going to be a short runway. This is the sad part. We're going to get to the good part. So one of the things that this client's mother has done to, creatively gift is they've taken gold coins and hidden them throughout their home as a scavenger hunt. And it's their way of making the grieving process somehow more fun.
So it's literally a treasure hunt.
So it's a treasure hunt, but it's for I don't know how many gold coins. But nobody wants this.
I actually said to Kaylee about a year ago, how fun would it be if we had a treasure map to find our money when we passed away?
Nobody wants this, Colin.
I'm not saying all of it.
People want it,
but for a chunk of it,
all of it either for her. It's it's probably a meaningless amount of money in the end.
But imagine this. I'm gonna turn this into a game. Okay. Imagine, Tori, your one-way ticket. Imagine if you planted, let's just say, $1 million in somewhere around the world. Okay. And you and your family had to come together to go on this treasure hunt. And it's to get clues, you have to go to all these different places around the world. Yeah. And you have to go on this sabbatical to be a part of it.
That's a movie right there, because then there's
it is literally a movie.
It probably already is. No, but that's a family. And then
if it's not, that's another movie thing on top of our action and estate planning thriller.
The journey brings the family together.
Yes.
I think in this situation, what she was imagining is that while they're going through and cleaning out the house of their dead loved one.
Oh, a gold coin.
Like a gold coin. I don't think it's actually going to cheer them up the way that she intended.
I just imagine all the beneficiaries to be like running through her house, like tearing it apart, trying to find gold coins as quick as possible before the other person.
Yeah.
And then,
I don't know. Anyways, I don't think I would recommend that strategy.
Sounds
necessarily.
good. I'm
Although
probably
I
gonna
like
do
your idea.
my treasure hunt idea
No,
of bringing people together.
That's good. I think there's also that guy. There's a guy who buries treasure. He buried treasure in Western Massachusetts. Did you guys hear anything about this?
No.
All right. Well, I don't have enough information to make this a very
Google it.
useful. But I think when I don't know if he was dead, but he buried treasure, and like he would release all these clues, and people have been trying to find his treasure and stuff. Like, all right, now we're gonna have to look this up and find out more.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Man in Western Mass.
That buries fortunes.
Buried
and
treasure in
releases.
Western Massachusetts. I bet if you could just chat GPT that, you'll find something. Anyways,
Yeah.
So those are some ways that you can gift a family. There's also, the more complicated estate planning stuff, irrevocable trust, et cetera, that you can go about that. Yeah, I had a meeting with the client yesterday. They have a son with special needs.
Yep.
And how they gift to him has to be very intentional and thought out.
Yeah. I have a
Because-
few clients in that same boat.
Yeah, they can't show that he has too much in terms of resources in order to get the aid from the state.
Right.
And so, it's not a one-size-fits-all situation.
Yeah. Yeah. And on top of that, too, this might be a good time to break into what's different with charitable deductions or what will be different moving into 2026.
Yeah, so what is a charitable deduction and what's changing about that and the vehicles that we can use?
So basically, what a charitable deduction is when you give money to charity and you get a deduction off of your taxes. Now, there's something called above and below the line, but basically what's different now is if you take standard deduction, which 90% of people do take the standard deduction, not many people out there itemize, but if you take the standard deduction, you do get a charitable deduction now that you can take off of the top as well, so above the line. So if you're standard deduction, if you're single or married filing jointly, you're going to take that. You can also take another $1,000 as single, $2,000 as joint to take a charitable deduction on top of that. So that's an additional benefit that wasn't there prior, which is kind of nice.
So things that qualify for that, have you ever gone to the Salvation Army and they say, do you want a receipt for this donation? Or
Yes.
what's that? Not the Salvation Army. There's another one around
It's the
here.
Goodwill.
Goodwill.
Yes. Yeah.
And they say, do you want a receipt? I'm like, no, I'm just, thank you for taking my stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking this away from me.
Yeah.
But things like, some people will give to their church or, their
Right.
local food bank or, we have a living history museum in Portsmouth that takes donations. Strawberry
Really?
Bank is
Strawberry Bank. Yeah.
so like you can document some of these gifts and then give them to your accountant.
You
while you're
can.
filing your
There is a
taxes.
floor now, though, which is a bit different. So let's just say you do itemize. Say you make $500,000 a year and you're going to itemize your taxes because you have a ton of deductions that you're going to take. When it comes to charitable deductions, what's new in 2026 is there's a floor. So what I mean by that is it's 0.5%. So let's just say you donate $5,000.
Yep.
So if you make $500,000, 0.5% of $500,000 is $2,500. So the first $2,500 of your charitable contribution will not be counted as a deduction. Anything above that will be counted, but you have a floor that you have to hit before you can deduct it if you itemize.
And the ceiling?
So there's not necessarily a ceiling, but what there is there's a cap on the amount that you can basically do. So what I mean by that is if you're in the very top bracket, so let's just say you're in the 37% bracket, you can only deduct up to 35%. So basically you have a 35% cap on the amount of the deduction, so 35 cents per dollar. So if you're making millions and millions of dollars a year, you're in the very top bracket very comfortably, you can't take the full 37%, you have to take 35 essentially at that point.
Okay.
But there is an income limit to that. You can do like a major gift or something like that, like what we were talking about. There's no limit on that technically. But there is a 60% income limit for gifts to charity, which is now permanent because it was 50. So that actually went up. So if you make, again, $500,000, $300,000 is the max that you can gift
to
out of
charity.
your income.
Yeah. And gift and claim any type of deduction on. You can always give away all your money.
Right.
But you're not necessarily going to get a tax benefit for it.
Right, exactly. So there are some big changes coming up. There's some big changes to donor advised funds that are going to be coming up in terms of the amount that you can deduct and all that kind of other stuff.
So what is a donor advised fund?
So a donor advised fund is basically a directed fund that you put money into while you are alive that is then designated for charity. Now, historically speaking, if you put money into a donor advised fund, you get a big upfront deduction, and then you basically can determine how much goes to each charity. You have to give a certain amount each year, but basically that's what a donor advised fund is.
Yeah. Did you know that you can instruct them which charity you want them to give it to, but they don't actually have to do that?
I did not know that they didn't have to do that. Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah. So you basically, I mean, it's, I don't know in what situation. That's kind of like the electoral college, like they, they don't have to vote the way that you tell them to, but they're going to.
They're going to, yeah.
But yeah, I think the you can essentially influence them. You can say, we want this money to go this, whatever.
Yeah.
But that's not within their bylaws that they have to do that.
Right.
I'm not a big fan of donor advised funds. This show is not sponsored by a donor advised fund. And this is not investment advice, but I've never been a big fan. I would prefer something like a CRUT.
Right. So I'm actually a big fan of CRUTs, to your point. Donor advised funds, I think, are fairly limiting at times, in terms of what you can do with
how
them.
They're invested.
How they're invested, like all that stuff. A CRUT, you can buy crypto. A CRUT, you can buy whatever you want. It's very flexible. And what's also nice about a CRUT is that if you front load a CRUT, you get income for life.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic.
Well, maybe. So first of all, CRUT, Charitable Remainder Unit Trust.
Yep.
Right? There's also a CRAT, which is a Charitable Remainder Annuity Trust. That's definitely income for life. Mm-hmm. But not all CRUTs are set up to be income for life.
Right, it's a scale. Yeah. And there's an actuarial table that you have to follow with a CRUT.
And how much you don't. So, for example, we have a client that they had highly appreciated stock from a company that went public that they had shares in.
Yep.
And they wanted a tax deduction. So they gifted a lot of those shares to a CRUT. Mm-hmm. They declared a beneficiary, basically a charitable institution that will receive the money at the end of this time period.
Yep.
And they set it up for 10 years or lifetime, whichever is less.
Yep.
And what that did is it allowed them to take 5% on December 20th every year for 10 years.
So they accelerated their income.
Yeah. And they increased their deduction because the amount of the deduction at that time anyways, I'd have to confirm if it is now, was based on the timeline of when how much they'd actually benefit from it. So their focus was on two things. One, getting that money to charity. Two, getting the deduction. Honestly, the income that they receive from it, they don't need it. But it's nice that they have it.
Right.
And what's wonderful about this situation is they actually put $1 million into this CRUT. It's worth well more than that now because the market's been great and we've been able to invest and have a good strategy for that along the way. Yep. And they've been able to take 5% out every year since they did this like 4 years ago.
Right.
And at the end, they're the charity. Sorry, thank you for section institution. It's a hospital.
Okay.
But the hospital that they have selected will receive whatever's left in that trust, which is probably going to be more than the amount they put in.
Yeah. One of my favorite strategies too, that's kind of a cool planning technique that not a ton of people know about or even use, that's interesting to think through, is that if you do have a good chunk of change, you put money into a CRUT. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, that means my beneficiaries don't get anything. It's all going to go to this charity. I want to leave money behind for my beneficiaries. A lot of the times, people that put money in a CRUT, just to your point, don't need that income. Mm-hmm. So you can put money into this CRUT that's going to send it to a charity of your choice, and you can use that income to fund an ILIT, an irrevocable life insurance policy trust. And within that ILIT, there's an insurance policy, which will then give the money back to your beneficiaries tax-free.
Yeah, so you're basically taking that amount that you put in and doubling it, giving some to charity, giving some to your beneficiary. Right. Yeah. And you can even turn that into a foundation. There's a lot of things that you can do to leave this legacy. And it's a really cool planning technique.
And not a lot of people think about that sort of thing, but it's really cool if one of your goals is to actually be charitable with your money. If you're going to have a lot left over, that's a really cool planning technique.
Yeah, I mean, even if you didn't have the, the annual amount that comes out of that CRUT go to an ILIT, it could just go to a different beneficiary. That
100%.
It doesn't have to go back to you.
Right.
So that's really cool. For people who don't have the resources for a CRUT, which I think, one thing, I knock on the donor advised fund, but one thing that they do have is a lower entry level, right? Like you don't have to have as much money to participate in a donor advised fund.
Right.
I think one thing that I've been asked a lot about this year, particularly because we have a government shutdown and we don't have the SNAP benefits, and there's a lot of people who are really struggling. So you're seeing a big push to support local food banks because other people need those resources.
Right.
So people are asking about taking qualified charitable distributions from their IRAs.
Yep.
And I think that's a really great way to, especially if you have a required minimum distribution, you have the amount that you have to take out every year in retirement. You might not need that. You're paying taxes on it. If you reallocate that distribution to a charity of your choice, then you're not paying taxes on it. And I've never come across this because I've never had anybody hit this level. But do you know what the max is that you can gift to charity as a qualified distribution from your retirement account every year?
I don't.
It's $100,000.
Really?
Yeah. I've never had somebody with $100,000 RMD say, I need all of this to go to charity. So I've never hit this limit before.
Yeah.
But it's really, you could give your entire RMD. You could take your RMD and then take other money from your account and gift it to charity. Like
right.
There are fewer restrictions, I think, than you might think. And you can just call your advisor, say, I want to send X number of dollars from my IRA to this charity, starting at age 70 and a half.
Right.
And they'll be able to cut the check for you and send it on your behalf.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to, I'll say, if you are charitably inclined, to help yourself pay less in taxes, especially when it comes to the required minimum distributions, because we're seeing this more and more with clients. When those kick in, it's so much additional money and so much more in additional taxes that they may not necessarily need.
Yep.
And if you can divert some of that to charity while you're alive, that's a great strategy to reduce that over time. Not many people talk about that, but at the end of the day, if you don't need the money, why pay tax on it?
Yeah.
That's kind of the thing,
Yeah. Sometimes I think about, I don't want to say that charity is a bad, dirty word or anything like that. But I think sometimes the concept is what you're trying to do is support people. And there are a lot of different ways to support people. I tend to overtip, for example. That's not charitable. Somebody's working for that. But
it's nice because you can see them right in front of you.
Right. Yeah. But the barista at my coffee shop probably needs that $2 more than I do.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that's whenever there's an opportunity where you can say, I'm in a fortunate situation and I can help somebody out who's in a less fortunate situation, I think it's a great thing to do. One of my favorite things I've ever seen, there's two. One is downtown Portsmouth. There's kind of a fence. Well, it's under construction now, so I don't know when this will happen again. But there's a fence where people will frequently hang coats for other people who need coats in the cold. I think that's really great.
Yeah, that's cool.
I also like the idea of paying off layaway. You ever come across this?
No.
So you can walk into any Walmart and pay off somebody else's layaway. And what you're doing...
Do you know the item?
You have to... No, you can ask them. And they won't provide information on who it is or anything like that. But yeah, you can talk to them and say, I'm sure if you don't approve of the item, Colin, you can...
Well, I'm just saying, like, if someone came in and bought $400 of Snickers bars...
I don't think they're going to do that on layaway.
You never know.
But I think the bottom line is that you can help people out because people use layaway because they can't afford something right away,
course,
right?
Yeah.
So I think that there are creative ways to help people, to gift to people, to be charitable, to just give people or kind of like recognize their extra effort.
Yep.
And it doesn't, some of them are really extreme. and some of them are really small. And we saw Tony Robbins speak earlier this year.
We did.
And you brought this up a couple of times. I don't want to misquote it, so I'll let you say the quote because I feel like I'm going to butcher it.
I might not get it perfect either. But the quote was, if you can't gift $1 when you have 100, you're not going to be gifting $1 million when you've got $1 billion.
Right. And I think the point, my takeaway from that is that if you are inclined to gift to family, to your community, to charity, whatever, you don't need to have a lot of money to do that.
Right.
And it doesn't even have to be a monetary gift. It can just be time, right? I think that, the time that we frequently do this as parents or family members, we put other people's needs first.
Yeah.
Or we see somebody who needs something and we jump in to try to help them. And you can do that by volunteering in your community as well.
Yeah.
And you can do that by, we're doing Michaela's school is doing like a food drive.
Sure.
Like canned goods and gift cards. And there's a lot of different ways you can do it. I never feel like I do it enough.
I know I don't. There was one, do you remember Hurricane Sandy when it hit Long Island?
Yeah.
That was like the big thing.
Yeah.
So I went with a bunch of my friends from school. There's this group called Bonner Response. Went to St. Bonaventure. And
sorry, it's
what'd you say?
Bonner?
Bona?
Bona?
B-O-N-A.
B-O-N-A. I thought you said Bono.
No.
Bono, because Bono's very charitable.
Me and Bono went down to Hurricane Sandy. No. But it was like 2 days after it hit, and we got a bunch of like excursions, the huge trucks and everything. We went down with like chainsaws and rakes and all this other stuff, and we were there for 3 or 4 days.
Oh,
just
cool.
like shoveling out people's driveways because they were filled with a foot of sand.
Yeah.
And demoing people's houses and things like that for like 4 days. That was crazy, but I never gave $1.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
your time was so valuable.
The time was very valuable because a lot of these people are elderly. They can't, one shovel full of sand is probably like 10 to 15 pounds. Mm-hmm. They're not going to shovel out a 300 or 200 foot driveway.
Yeah.
That's full of sand.
Yeah.
So there are things that you can do in organizations that you can join that will help do things like that. Certainly food drives is another good one. If you have old clothes that you don't need, don't throw them away.
Yeah.
Bring them to Goodwill. There's a lot of stuff that you can do that will help people. And to your point, too, on the tipping culture and things like that, I know the tipping stuff can be annoying at times, and it's now very in your face. But I think about it the same way. If I see someone, they might need that extra $1 more than I do. And even though I'm not getting a charitable deduction from it, that's kind of irrelevant.
Yeah.
It's nice that the government incentivizes you to give money. Certainly now is a good time to do it because there's rules that are changing next year. So it might make sense to accelerate it now if that's something that that's a goal of yours before the rules change. So talk to your tax accountant, CPA, financial planner about that. But it is nice that there is some sort of incentive for you to go out there and do it now, too, even if you're not itemizing. So that's a plus.
Yeah, and I think that there's also something else about the now, right? There's a lot of suffering right now. There's a lot of people who can't rely on the government to help. And that, you just brought up the Hurricane Sandy. Mm-hmm. There are always disasters.
Totally.
This year there was the fire in LA. There's Katrina. There's like all these massive natural disasters. There's always that. But there isn't always a situation where FEMA isn't around.
No.
And there isn't always a situation where we are just losing more and more support. And I think that what the world really needs more is people looking out for each other. And that can take a lot of different forms and come in a lot of different shapes and sizes, but it's more important now than ever.
I was always really interested, and I still am, and I still read up on this stuff a decent amount. Microfinance. I don't know if you're familiar with this.
Yep.
So I started a microfinance fund a few years back when I was in college, and I think it's still around. But basically what it does is, let's say someone who's low income needs a wheelchair ramp for their house. Well, a bank's not going to lend money for that.
Yeah.
Especially if they don't have income or something like that, or they're on welfare or whatever it might be. So that's like a really debilitating thing. So a microfinance fund, what it will do is it will basically give very small loans for items and things just like that.
Yeah.
And that's a very cool place to look to do charitable things too, because that does have to go basically to someone who's in need. So it's giving money to people who are in need. There was one loan that we did to someone who lost their house in a tornado, and she couldn't get a loan from a bank, to repair like a lot of the damage to her house. So you can do a microfinance loan there, which is really, really cool. So there's very interesting solutions to things that might be worth looking into if you're interested in being creative.
Yeah. Yeah. I ran into a guy once, friend of a friend who had microloan. He ran a bunch of different microloan, I guess, funds for other countries, right? Just kind of
Cool.
like a dollar in some countries goes a lot further than it does here.
We did ours to Haiti.
Yeah, right, exactly. So pick your third world country du jour.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think bottom line, I guess going back to what I was saying earlier about, I feel like it's never enough. It's because you always know you can do more.
Of course.
But there's also, I think, some level of guilt that comes into these things. And I don't think we should be charitably inclined or gift or anything like that to prove anything, or, if it's coming from a sense of guilt. I think it's just, we want to do right by everybody, ourselves and the people around us, etc. Do you ever feel like, though, it is coming from a place of guilt or something like that? Is it wrong if you gift somebody $1,000 because you felt bad? How do we process this?
What I think is wrong, we read the Bible every night, and there's this parable in the Bible that kind of talks about like gifting for yourself.
Wait, you read the Bible every night?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Fun fact.
Okay.
Anyway, so there's this parable, and I'm going to butcher this because I don't remember it exactly. But basically it talks about like when you gift to show off, that's terrible, basically.
Right, totally.
Like you shouldn't do that. To me, it's not necessarily like a guilt thing, because certainly everybody has had trying times in their life, and it's nice to have a helping hand. What I think is wrong is personally when you're gifting to kind of show off. That to me like bothers me.
Yeah.
I think if you're going to gift, do it because you're trying to help someone.
Yeah.
That is the reason in my mind why you should do it.
Well, I hear you on that. At the same time, regardless of the intention, if you're showing off and you're saying like you just want to help people and you're all about the people and blah 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 blah.
Well, it's like, have you ever been to those charity auctions?
I'm familiar with them. Where they have like high value items that they auction off.
Yeah, like I was at one where there's like a Super Bowl ring was being auctioned off, so you could wear the Super Bowl ring for a week, and it went for like huge money.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing because money's going to charity.
Yeah.
But I think intentionality is important.
I think it's like, I hear you that you don't want people to be sanctimonious, but at the same time, if there's somebody who's positively benefiting from that, like, I don't know how bad it is. I think it's a personal growth, area to explore, because the outcome for the charity or for the receiver, the beneficiary, is good.
Yeah.
For you, it might not you, but for the person that is doing it for maybe the wrong reason, they have things to explore. And I think if we can kind of figure out where our values come from and how gifting is in alignment with our values, then maybe we'll feel more comfortable doing more of it.
Yeah, for sure. And, with that being said, there's no right or wrong way to do this, but it's nice that there are so many options. And, we're at a point in time right now where a lot of people that we talk to are in a position to gift.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great mechanisms to help them do that very effectively and to make their gifting last longer.
Yeah.
Like a perfect example is that CRUT or donor advised fund or something like that, which, choose your vehicle. But the advantages of it is that the money is invested. So you're going to be getting gifts a lot, like every year, and it's going to continue to grow, and that's going to leave a legacy. And then on top of that, you can teach that to the kids and things like that. And it's kind of cool.
It's one of the many ways that money is a tool that can build wonderful things.
Absolutely.
And I think when you can incorporate altruism into your financial plan,
it's great.
especially if you can do it and other things.
Right.
That's great. I think, I'm a big fan of putting your oxygen mask on first before you help the people around you.
Right.
Make sure that you're not going to run out of money.
Right.
But, when we find those opportunities to help, we should.
Right. I agree.
Actually,
good.
Sorry, I should remove the should. I would like to. You do whatever you want.
Yeah.
I don't want to tell Tori what to do with her hard-earned money. I don't want to say should. I feel like I would like to.
Well, I would say we started this off with things that, you don't regret, in terms of purchases.
Yeah.
I've never regretted giving.
Yeah, exactly. I think I said that earlier in this podcast.
You did. Yeah.
Can I say one thing I was thinking about on the way into work today?
Please.
I was thinking about all this glorious technology all around us. And, my daughter and I were talking about how everything's always listening. And she's like, that's so creepy. I'm like, yeah, it is.
It is creepy.
But do you remember a time where there would be some technological advancement and it would just be exciting? Like sometimes
Not scary.
Not scary. It's not like, I feel like AI, especially now, everybody's like AI is going to take over the world, and it's not like I asked ChatGPT a question, a thoughtful question, and it was like a maybe three sentence paragraph or whatever. It spit out everything I wanted in like as soon as I hit period and enter. Like it was just like done, and the ability to do that is pretty amazing. It's like we sit here and we talk about all the risks associated with it. Or like how it's going to, help productivity or whatever. We're not really focused on the fact that, science is akin to magic. Right. And we don't recognize how magical some of these things really are. And like we all take for granted that we have everything we want in our pocket now. And I don't know. I wonder where that transitioned from. We were excited and now we're petrified.
I think when the iPhone came out, right? Cell phones were already around. So that was just a massive improvement on kind of what was already there. And that was exciting because it was a change to the way that you already are operating something. But it didn't necessarily change your day-to-day in terms of your experience with the world.
Sure.
AI, I think what's, in my mind, why people are scared of it is because it has the ability to change the way that humanity operates.
Yeah.
And I think whenever there's some sort of major change like that, that could be disruptive, I think that's where people get scared. But I think if you were to understand the impact that the internet had going back in 1998, you probably would have reacted differently when a home computer kind of came into your life. If you knew that it was going to be this big change to, working from home, not going into the office, like all these different things, like even monitoring systems, marketing, blah, 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 blah. A lot of people could have looked at that and said, this is going to be terrible, in the same way that they're probably looking at that with AI now. But most of the time, when new technology has been released, it's been a net positive to the world. I can honestly say that ChatGPT saves me a ton of time during the week, and I feel more productive. I was with a client yesterday, and we were talking about healthcare costs and teaming that up with Social Security benefits and IRMA, which is basically the additional Medicare tax that goes on if you make too much money. And, our financial planning software won't necessarily calculate what all those things are. But, I just was talking with my clients. And I'm like, well, let's put this into ChatGPT. So I was just like, X client makes this, spouse makes this, the age gap is X, Y, and Z. They live in New Hampshire, calculate what we think the, premium costs will be for both Medicare and private insurance if they want to retire early. And it was like perfect.
Right.
And we just took that math, put it into the financial plan, the mathed, and we knew exactly what their projections looked like.
Yeah.
That saves so much time and so much energy, and it's a more accurate output.
Yeah. I think that we are at this kind of this linchpin or this crux point in time where it's just like the invention of the internet, or not but it's similar or in the same category as the
It's a
invention
game
of the
changer.
internet or the invention of the Gutenberg printing press.
Yep.
And I could look at that and say, well, that like the biggest beneficiary of that printing press was organized religion because they manufactured all the Bibles and spread them all over the world, and that's how Christianity spread, etc. Not like the other ways that it has spread in the past. And I could say, well, and that I could say, Colin reads the Bible every night, and he shouldn't. If I felt that way,
No, I know.
you can look at that and say, here's this thing that came out of it that I don't like, but then also here are all these things that came out of it that were wonderful,
Right.
and we have to be able to see both sides to things. And I think sometimes, and this is just like with the charitable gifting, there are a lot of ways to do this that can be genuinely rewarding to you and the people around you. And there are other ways that are maybe coming from a sanctimonious place. We can see both sides of things and we can be both things sometimes.
Yeah, I was thinking about this. Did you see the announcement of Neo, that autonomous, allegedly robot?
I don't think so. I know.
Okay, so it's like a humanoid robot that they came out with. It was all over. Did you see this? It was like all over the internet. This is a few days ago, maybe it was last week, and it was basically going around someone's house and doing the dishes and putting the dishes away and then taking out the trash and all this stuff. And people were like, "This is amazing." Blah 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 blah. It turns out that was being operated,
of course,
by someone. So the whole
this
thing
is like
was
the Tesla
fake.
robots.
Correct.
Yeah.
So the whole thing was fake, and it was just like, this is what it will do.
Yeah, someday.
Someday.
What was that company, the car company, that they went out of business, but they pushed a truck down a hill and then they took footage
I forgot about that. I don't remember who that was.
Company? I can't remember what it was now.
And it's like, this is what it could do.
And it was a massive fraud
it won't.
because it was not a self-propelled vehicle.
Right, exactly. So there were a lot of talks about how the fact that it's cool if it could do this, but it can't.
Yeah.
And I think there was, like, if you read through the comments, I don't know how many of the comments were bots, but it was basically like, I can't wait for that robot to just go into my top drawer and kill me, and take out a knife. And I'm like,
Do you keep a knife in your top drawer?
well, no, like
kitchen?
your kitchen.
Oh,
Yeah.
what?
And it's just like, what's preventing this robot from just like,
My thought was like my bedroom top drawer.
No,
Was that not
I
like
don't.
your first thought?
I don't keep a hunting knife in my top drawer.
Yeah, what?
When I say your top drawer, what do you think? Like just anything. What's in your top drawer right now?
I think kitchen drawer.
You think kitchen drawer?
Yeah,
I would think
you
like,
think
would just
bedside
say-
table.
dresser.
No, I would not go to my bedroom though.
No, what were you? So you'd go
I
to the
think I
kitchen?
would do. Yeah,
Wow.
I think I would. Yeah.
What is wrong with me? Am I?
And then I was like, do you keep a knife? In
No,
your...
that's my point though. Like
Okay.
I was like, why would you keep something that could kill you in your your top drawer?
You wouldn't, hopefully.
I
But
keep
anyway,
clothes in my top drawer.
Yeah.
But apparently that's not. I don't know.
I
don't
keep
think
socks
that
in my
way.
top drawer.
Yeah, maybe it's like your house layout. Like I feel like my top. The
Maybe
top
you sleep
drawer
in your
is just
kitchen.
Like, yeah, like
I don't
the
know.
kitchen's like the main room in my house.
I bet there are some people who would think at work like their top drawer too, right?
I don't know.
This is a poll. I want to start compound growth polls. I feel like
We should
there's
do
some
that.
things that we should get like
Polling on.
crowdsourced. Yes, I want to know what people think, and I want them to agree with me.
Well, anyway, people were like in the comments saying, what's going to prevent this robot from just like killing me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, totally.
And
Yeah.
then other people were like, this is going to be unbelievable because there's such a shortage of healthcare workers.
Yeah, sure.
That, it's going to help us with all this other stuff. And it's just like the autonomous car thing.
Yeah.
Do you remember when Tesla started to do the autonomous car thing?
Yeah.
And people were like, this is just going to steer me off the road. It's going to kill me, like blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Now it's like they're up to however many millions of miles. And, it's so nice to not be able to drive. And it's going to be a pretty nice luxury if, it can just do errands for you and come pick you up and park somewhere else.
We fear change, and I think we underestimate our ability to survive.
To manage it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that, if we can be more welcoming to our capacity, like we can just recognize that we are capable of more. We are capable of recognizing risk and not running from it.
Right.
We are capable of benefiting from things and leaning in without like sacrificing everything.
Mm-hmm.
And we're capable of gifting a little bit more as well.
You always bring it back.
That's a wrap for today's episode of Compound Growth. In light of Giving Month, we wanted to share a few thoughts on gifting, legacy, and the impact you want to leave behind. Whether it's navigating the tax side of giving, finding meaningful ways to support the people you love, or showing up for those in less fortunate situations through your time or resources. There are so many thoughtful paths to explore. We try to keep these conversations rooted in real life and real values, so if gifting or giving back is something you want to explore, these are just a few of the options worth thinking about. Thanks for spending your time with us today, and we'll see you at the next episode.
Compound Growth with Wheeler and Colin, sponsored by Ko-Fi Advisors. Reach out today. Yay!